Okay, here's a behind the scenes look at a little project that I'm doing here. It's an irrigation project to basically create a self-watering system for all of these raised garden beds that I built from an old fence panel. This goes all across the fence. Kind of makes like a U shape. And you can see it, everything's growing great, but as we head into the summer, it's not going to rain as much, so I'm going to create this irrigation system using this 3/4 inch poly that I'm going to run around. So here's how it's going to work. I've already moved and installed this outdoor spigot, and then I'm going to put a 4-zone water timer on here. One of them is going to be this main line. Now, because I want to ensure that the pressure is equally distributed on either side, instead of just running it one way, what I've done is take one tube, go all the way down here into the center, then come up into a T. From here, one line goes left all the way to that end, and then the other T goes right over there. So that essentially ensures that the pressure is the same. From this line are going to come little spaghetti lines, which are then going to sit over into here, and then I have a sprayer that does kind of a 360, and I'll show you that a little bit later. But this is the basically this is the main line right here coming up. And so I ran out of this tubing, so I bought another roll, and I'm about to install this. And so basically I'll show you the step-by-step and the best way that I figured this out, because I've been working on this for quite a while. But once this system is up and running, all of these plants are going to be set on a water timer and I'll be able to grow a lot of food. So it's definitely going to be worth it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out and then extend it over here, and then we'll get started with actually putting the system together. Okay, so I've already ran this poly tubing across, and I cut it at the end. I made sure I just had extra, so it started over here and then it goes across. I do have a little bit of extra on the end, so what I'm going to do now is basically tie this nicely over to here. I'll put it in, I'm not going to fully mount it in, but I'm just going to stick it in maybe about halfway, just so that I have it tight. And then I'm going to run this line properly across, get it all in place before I cut each end. After that, I'll start tying everything formally in, and then also make sure the same is happening across this side. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So before I attach this into here, I'm going to grab this hose clamp, put it in first, then I don't have to take it apart and then try to put it in later. So you could see that I was having a hard time pushing this in. And believe it or not, I've actually hurt my bicep doing this before. But a good trick that I've figured out is I'm going to take this side off. What I have is this DeWalt heat gun. So this provides instant heat and it's battery powered. So watch this, how easy this makes it. Just gonna cook it a little bit. I'm gonna quickly take this down and then push it in. And watch how much easier it is. So I still had to use some force, but it made the whole job easier. Now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Now these hose clamps, you can use a slotted screwdriver to tighten them. And that's usually what I used to do and try to, tighten as hard as you can. But you can only go so hard when you're trying to use a slotted screwdriver. It starts to fall out. A better trick is to use a ratchet set and to get it in perfectly, set it up, and then you can just tighten it a lot. And so if you ever do see a leak in the future, you can then go around and tighten it up a little more and see if that stops the leak. So that's what I'm going to use over here. Here's a close-up of this whole tea situation. You can see there's a lot of clamps. Clamps are your best friends here. They're not cheap, but with a system like this, you just definitely want to make sure you don't get any leaks. And if you do get a little bit of a leak, it doesn't matter because it's still all outdoors. The main problem, the one that you really can't get a leak on, is if you're extending a spigot like I'm doing over here. This system, you can see I got double clamps everywhere because I can't have this leaking because this is always on. Whereas this whole system only turns on when this comes on, which is on that water timer that I'm gonna set up. But you gotta do your best to make sure that you don't have leaks, and that's why you wanna use these hose clamps. You can't go cheap on them. I'm trying to just use one. If I had to, you can always add additional ones as well. But hopefully just the ones with the ratchet set will do enough. Okay, so now that both of these tees are clamped, the next step basically is I'm going to set these up and basically run these cords and make everything nice and even across. And by the time I get to the end, whatever's left over, the excess, I'll cut off and then put one of those end caps in. And then I'll do the exact same on this side as well. You can see there's the remaining. This ensures it's just a nice clean setup. So that's what I'm going to do next. To attach this line to the fence, what I'm going to be using is it's right here. This is 3/4 inch PVC conduit clamps. If you're going to run an irrigation system, you want to make sure you get it the right size for your tubing. A lot of irrigation systems use just 1/2 inch, but I went 3/4 inch because I have such a large area to cover. I wanted to get the maximum amount of water. So that's why I decided to use these 3/4 inch tubing, and that's why I got these 3/4 inch clamps. So I'm gonna go ahead and run it and just try to visually eyeball, make sure everything is nice and level. It's kind of hard because I have all these different types of heads of lettuce growing and other stuff over here, but I'll do my best for both sides. Okay, as you can see, I put those PVC clamps across the fence. Tried to do my best to eyeball it to make sure that everything was even. And it goes all the way across. There's another one. One thing I just noticed though is when I got to the end, I would say maybe 6 inches too short. So I should have left a little bit extra. It was with that curve at the end that really kind of messed up my calculations. I tried to guesstimate it. My bad. I'm about 6 inches, I'd say, short. But that's okay because I'm just going to cap it, put it on here, and of course I still have a spaghetti line to water all of these for here. Look at that. That's a sunflower plant right there. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is before I put the PVC clamp on here, I got to cap this end. So I got this little end, 3/4 inch end stopper, and of course a clamp. Okay, so here's where we're at. I have ran this 3/4 inch tubing all the way across. It's got your end cap on this side. And then if we go to this side, you could see the same thing. So now that this is pretty much all lined up, the next step is to actually connect this whole system to the water source. So basically I have to connect it to over here. I don't have that 4-zone timer yet. I'm gonna have to purchase one. But here's what I'm gonna do. Let me see if I can find it. So this piece, which I've already connected, this is the end that goes into the water spigot. So I'll put that in right now because I'm at the point where I have to cut this. And so I wanna make sure they'll fit. So I put that in. Then you basically, this is thankfully bendable. So it looks like I'm gonna cut somewhere around here. And then I'll attach this on and then connect it together. So this marks the end of video 1 in how to set up an irrigation system for a raised vegetable garden. In the second video, we're going to actually talk about setting up the spaghetti lines and the emitters from those spaghetti lines. And we'll show you everything you need to know about how to make this work and some of the issues that I ran into during my install so you can avoid it as well. So make sure you go and watch the second video of this 2-part series on setting up an irrigation system for a raised vegetable garden bed. Oh yeah, see? That's the click you want to hear. I'm Handy Andy. We'll see you again next time.